What's up, Taiwan? Good evening. I'm Ethan Liu with 10 minutes of news from here in Taiwan and around the world. The UK's Prime Minister Boris Johnson has announced his resignation as leader of the Conservative Party. Johnson plans to remain as Prime Minister until the party can choose his replacement. James Chater reports.
The British Prime Minister Boris Johnson walking out of 10 Downing Street, his days in the UK leader's official residence now numbered.
It is clearly now the will of the Parliamentary Conservative Party that there should be a new leader of that party and therefore a new Prime Minister.
Johnson had tried to cling on despite a slew of resignations from government ministers in recent days, but the mass exodus eventually proved too great a strain on his position.
He should have been gone a long time. Overstayed his welcome by a long margin.
I was originally a fan, but I think for a long time now the writing's been on the wall, and I think it was getting very desperate. I think we've got to look at our reputation on a global basis as well.
Johnson's resignation comes after months plagued by controversies, initially over illegal lockdown parties in the Prime Minister's residence, and more recently after Johnson appointed someone accused of sexual misconduct to a senior Conservative Party position. The leader of the UK's opposition Labour Party, Keir Starmer, said Johnson's resignation was good news and added Britain needed a proper change of government and a fresh start. A leadership contest this summer will decide Johnson's successor. The UK's new Finance Minister Nadhim Zahawi, former Finance Minister Rishi Sunak, and former Health Secretary Sajid Javid are all expected to make bids for the top job. And while the race for his replacement has only just begun, for now at least, Boris Johnson's time is finally up. Klein Wang and James Chater for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's consumer price index is now at the highest level in 14 years after it rose by 3.59% in June compared to the previous year. As Louis Watt reports, the cost of goods and services has been pushed up by food.
In Taiwan, the weekly supermarket trip has become noticeably more expensive. Even the price of cabbage has tripled, leaving a bitter taste in the mouth. Food has pushed up the cost of living in Taiwan. The country's consumer price index rose by 3.59% in June. That's the highest level in almost 14 years, and above market expectations. The main opposition party, the KMT, says that rising prices will be hard on Taiwan's nearly 600,000 low and middle income households.
他们平常就靠政府补助或者是打零工过活，他们的收入非常的微薄，而这些人一旦他的一日三餐这一些外食费也通通都涨，他过的就是缩衣节食的生活。
Inflation led the central bank in June to cut its growth outlook for Taiwan's economy this year to 3.75%. But Taiwan's economy is being supported by global demand for semiconductors, and the government has said it will consider further price stabilization measures, which doesn't help consumers here in the short term, who are hoping their food prices will soon go back down again. Karma Xu and Louise Watt for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan nationals and residents will no longer be required to present a PCR test result before boarding a flight into the country. Health Minister Chen Shizhong says the new policy will take effect on the 14th. Taiwan has also recorded its first 2 domestic cases of the Omicron BA.5 subvariant of COVID-19, but officials say there's no sign it has spread into the community. The strain is more contagious than previous variants and is better able to evade immunity from vaccines and past infections. The 2 infected people are family members. They caught the virus after driving relatives who'd returned from the U.S. home from the airport. Everyone in the car wore a mask for the entire trip, but officials say the virus spread because the windows were closed. Meanwhile, Taiwan has announced plans to nearly double its weekly international arrival quota to 40,000, despite the detection of the new variant in the country. Protesters gathered outside the de facto Japan embassy in Taipei on Thursday to denounce Tokyo's plan to dump nuclear wastewater into the sea. Next year, Japan is set to release over 1 million tons of treated radioactive water from the crippled Fukushima nuclear plant. Bing Wang has this report.
Environmental activists present their demands to Japan's de facto embassy in Taipei. These activists frequently protest over Taiwan's territorial disputes with Japan. But now they're handing Tokyo's de facto embassy in Taipei a list of very different concerns.
也要借这个机会来呼吁日本政府审慎地评估明年要排放核废水的计划。
In April of 2021, Japan announced it would dump over 1 million tons of water from the Fukushima nuclear plant. The power plant was damaged in the 2011 tsunami and set off a nuclear disaster. Countries all over the world placed bans on Fukushima imports, including Taiwan. Fukushima food imports were banned for 10 years in Taiwan due to concerns over radiation. But in February, the government changed their stance because they wanted closer ties with Japan and they believed that the food was safe. Local consumers are still skeptical of the government's decision. Now that Japan is set to release wastewater from Fukushima into the ocean, it's again drawing global condemnation from governments and environmental groups. Tokyo maintains that the wastewater will be treated before disposal, and it won't be harmful to humans or marine life. But many aren't convinced.
日本的宫城县跟福岛县有民间团体啊，有达成了18万份的联署给日本东京电力公司，他们也是严重的质疑这个。然后，所以我们是认为，在不管是日本国内还是包括我们国外，有没有大家都还有疑虑的状况下，所以我希望日本政府能更审慎的评估。
The Japanese government says they consulted with other countries in the region, and their plan is also endorsed by the International Atomic Energy Agency. But these activists won't be swayed, and they intend to keep protesting until Japan changes their plan. Ricky, Peachy Zhuang, and Bing Wang for TaiwanPlus.
Hong Kong has become the latest Chinese territory to destroy a shipment of Taiwanese mangoes. City officials say they detected COVID-19 on one of the fruits and destroyed 200 kilograms of mangoes in the same batch. On Saturday, Macau banned Taiwan mango imports from 2 companies for a week, also over COVID concerns. Agriculture officials say neither territory has provided evidence of their claims. China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi is launching his Southeast Asia tour in Bali. He's in Indonesia for the G20 Foreign Ministers meeting. His tour of the region includes stops in Myanmar, Thailand, Malaysia, and the Philippines. After returning to China, he will also have a series of meetings with Southeast Asian diplomats. It is seen as China's push to reassert its relations with countries involved in its Belt and Road Initiative. Taiwan has its own overture to the region, known as the New Southbound Policy. Sana Hashmi, an expert in Taiwanese and Chinese foreign affairs, gives us her opinion on how the 2 initiatives stack up.
I think Taiwan has something that China is not doing, is reaching out to the people, is reaching out to the business community. So there is mutual benefit, be it COVID-19 pandemic or be it economic relationships. So I think there is no threat in kind of engaging Taiwan if you just keep the China factor aside. Even with economically engaging Taiwan, these countries, especially in Southeast Asian region, they have benefited immensely from engaging with Taiwan. So China talks about win-win cooperation, but I think there is hardly any win-win cooperation with China and Southeast Asian cooperation. But when we talk about Taiwan and Southeast Asia, there's definitely this win-win cooperation.
Taiwan's Museum of World Religion's new exhibition is giving visitors an immersive opportunity to explore life and death. Called Brightest Night, Darkest Day, A Walk with the Death, the exhibit takes guests on a journey through life and into what might wait beyond through the perspective of different religions. The museum's director says the experience will make guests reflect on their inner selves. Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. Remember to download the TaiwanPlus app for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, today we leave you with images of dioramas of urban Brooklyn created by a New York artist. He taught himself how to do his art during the pandemic. I'm Ethan. Take care, and I'll see you next time.